All right. Hello, everyone. We are kicking off the new year with some more episodes of Hawk Talk. And I hope everyone was able to enjoy their break and have a little bit of time to rest and recharge. As we're thinking about the start of the new year and forming new habits, we are once again joined by Dr. Vicki Atkinson and Cindy Washburn. We're from Counseling Services and Hawks Care Resource Center to discuss the WellTrack app.
Today's focus is on emotional wellness and how WellTrack can be used as a resource to help students form or sustain emotional wellness habits and practices, among other things. To kick us off, could either of you give us a rundown of how to download or access the app and some of the key features?
Yeah, this is Cindy. I'm happy to do that. So for a lot of students, we understand at Counseling Services that for a number of reasons, they may or may not feel comfortable reaching out directly. So we wanted to put the information right on our webpage with counseling so that students can access that when they need to. So right now you should be seeing my screen on our Hawks Care Resource Center and Counseling Services site. If you go under Resources and click WellTrack, this will be the page you see. It gives a pretty high overview of what WellTrack is, but basically it's a free resource available to all of our students that they can utilize either on the mobile app, so with Google Play or Apple, it's free for students to download, or if folks want to use it on their desktop, they can navigate to harper.welltrack.com. Once they download it from the app, they're going to be able to download it and access it on their mobile device, which I hope you can see now. It says WellTrack, and they're going to sign in with their Harper email address. And then once a student signs in, they're actually going to be prompted with their portal login page to create their account with their Harper ID. So it's fine if students pop that up and see that it's on their phone and the portal. It doesn't track anything. It's 100% confidential, but they do need to log in with their Harper email address and portal password. That just connects the app information to our Harper College information so that students are getting area-specific resources. But it's totally free and 100% confidential.
Oh, that was super helpful. And really, you can have access to the app, obviously, from your phone, but also you can go to your website, it sounds like, and get a little bit more information about accessing it in different ways, but also additional information about the resource. So thank you. And you kind of alluded to this, but thinking about that, what are some things to use on the app, right? So I had heard there's like a mood tracker or some activities. Like, can you give us a little bit of a better understanding of what that looks like?
Yeah, Cindy, do you want me to hop in? Yeah, we love WellTrack. We spent a lot of time looking at different app options because we wanted to bring our students the best. And actually, it's a tool that anyone in the community can use. So it's great for faculty and staff too, just saying. And because it's built on the premise that support for reducing stress and tending to anxiety and depression that are really kind of the big three for so many people right now, not just in the pandemic, but just, human beings being human, there are some super cool things. One is kind of a daily mood tracker. How are you doing today? There are some activity scheduler tools for managing time. But there are also these cool little mini courses within the app where if you really want to drill down from, really an expert's point of view and learn more, it's based on cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. So it's really grounded in some rigorous, psychological research, about what's helpful. And, it's one of those things that you can use periodically or you could use daily. But it has a lot of different segments in it. And I think the thing that we like the most is it also has the ability to connect with resources that are specific to Harper. So if you want to know, okay, so where would I find out more about academic support? Where would I find out more about wellness? It's all there. So we built the connections in. And for students that are thinking, this is good, but I wonder about those counseling services that I've heard about, or I've heard about Hawks Care and additional support, links to that information is contained within the app as well. But I think one of the things that Cindy and I appreciate the most is that sometimes you need more than what the app and the resources can provide. So Cindy, would you share a little bit about that? Because, you know, sometimes when you need more serious support, the app has you covered there as well.
Yeah, and if it's okay, I'll share so that you can see what it would look like from your phone if you're using it. So actually, when you're in the app, on every screen, you're going to notice this Get Help button. So if you click on that, it actually allows you 24/7, 365 to connect with a line that is crisis counseling. So that connectivity is not at all designed to replace in-person counseling or anything like that, but it's really here for you when you need it most, if you really need help for a crisis situation. So when you click on that, you know, obviously I'm on my phone, so it's going to say, you know, connect here to call counseling services, or if it's after hours and counseling services isn't available, like I said, we do have that connection to that 24/7, 365 crisis line. So the number that popped up there, you can see that is our counseling services line. If it's after hours, you're going to press number 2, which will be crisis counseling. And there's a prompt on there. You don't have to remember it, but I think it's helpful to see how that looks. But as Vicki was saying, we have a lot of resources, and along that bottom row, you can click in, and the resources are organized by different types of categories. And you can always click into any of those and see what might be helpful, but it is information specific to Harper. So we have things like counseling, academic advising, access and disability services. All of our wonderful counseling and Harper College resources are listed here, in addition to other really helpful tools. And I think one of the things that we're hoping is that for students who might have felt shy or unsure about dipping their toe into counseling or getting that support, this should be a good way to explore and learn a little bit more about what they're feeling or what they're dealing with, and to help manage that a little bit.
And you mentioned this earlier, but just to clarify, it's not a substitute for counseling, correct? It's a tool, a resource, and in reality, if they want additional support from our counselors, the number is right there. And then there's that crisis number as well.
Yeah, totally. I think the easiest way, I keep talking about this, like if you've ever gone into a gym and thought like, oh, that machine looks intimidating, but I think I got this. And you might not hurt yourself, you know, you might feel that muscle, but if a trainer comes over and helps you out with your form or says, oh, this is what your target issue is and you want to work on that. So if you think of WellTrack in the same way, it could be a great tool for you to use on your own, but you'll get even more benefit if you have someone coaching you, and like that feedback loop that you just honestly don't get from an app. But having one of our counselors help direct you or give you that additional information and support that they're so good at doing, they can help you see how using WellTrack while you're working with them and even beyond will be a really important tool to help keep you on track.
I like that. Thank you. And I like the analogy of it's almost like a personal trainer, but for that emotional wellness piece.
It is. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir to you, Beth, but like, honestly, if people would approach their mental and emotional well-being the same way they approach physical health, I think everybody would feel better and function better. It's not a all or nothing, right? You don't do one thing once and have your problem solved. It's really about building in that practice. And that's why things like the mood checker are great, because just like any other app, you can have it notify you and ping you to be like, hey, have you checked your mood today? Or, hey, did you know that you had scheduled some time to get outside and do some things to refill your own bucket? So I hope it's a really well utilized tool because it's super, super user friendly and really helpful.
Yes, we get notifications for Instagram and all of these other social media apps. Why not get notifications for emotional wellness as well? So I love that. So thank you.
Cindy, just to follow up with that, what information can counseling services see from the app itself if someone chooses to use it?
Oh, that's such a good question. So even though students use their portal login, nothing, absolutely nothing is visible to counseling or Harper College in general. We just get a notification, or rather we can see how many people in general have signed up for an account. So whether you're faculty, staff, students, we just get a number that says like, hey, you have 175 people using the app. But that's a good question also, because I think some students might enter information in hopes that someone could see it and reach out to them. So, that's not something that the app is really set up to do. If someone needs help, it is still their option and choice to reach out. And we hope that people do reach out, because there is no information that we can go back and look at or see. It is 100% confidential.
And if a student were to say something like, I don't want or need or believe in counseling, so why would I use this? How would you respond to that question?
Well,
Go ahead,
one of the things I think we know is that, despite the really great efforts, I think at Harper and, culturally and within our own community, we really try to destigmatize support, for emotional wellness and mental health. But we know in a lot of families, it's still something that is not discussed. You're expected to kind of stiff upper lip, and grit your teeth and get through. So I think one of the things that's really important for everyone to understand is that we selected the app, and it is students in complete and utter control. It's private, but it's a resource that could be, under the best of circumstances, a gateway to exploring more interpersonal help, working with someone directly, starting to kind of feel that sense of mastery, that I have more control than I thought. We can't change, we're still dealing with a pandemic, and a lot of crises in our collective worlds, but in our individual lives as well, a lot of economic pressure and housing concerns and food insecurity. And we also know a lot of relationships for our students, staff and faculty, all of us have been challenged in the pandemic. So what we really like about this tool is that it allows each person to use it in a way that's most meaningful for them. And no one's going to know, and you don't need to disclose anything. But I think, we're interested in our faculty colleagues using this and endorsing it for students as well, because there are some opportunities to use the WellTrack app in group work, both in the wellness area and in student engagement, but also within the classroom, because it really is something that we use the word normalize. And it's just the fancy word to say everyone ought to be focused on their mental health and emotional wellness, but often it's the last thing that we tend to. And so we're just hoping that this uplift will give, everyone the reminder that it's okay to take a couple of minutes every day, and it can look like you're checking your email. Who's gonna know, right? But you might be checking in with your WellTrack app and your mood and taking care of yourself. So I think that's such a great question, Melanie. We just want everyone to know that it shouldn't be like verboten. It shouldn't be a no-no. You shouldn't be like, oh, I don't need that. Of course you do. We all do.
Yeah, and I think both of you have said this throughout, is really, it's just another tool in your toolkit, right? It's not a one size fits all, and in reality, it can be a supplement in so many different ways. And so it's just kind of offering another tool for students, because we know that everyone is not the same, and what works for one person doesn't always work for another. So I know we always talk toolkits, so add that wrench to the toolkit.
Definitely.
So I guess lastly is, there's some research that's coming forward, and maybe reluctance of students using mental health services during the pandemic, despite the need. And I think you kind of touched on this, Vicki, but how can an app like WellTrack help with this, especially as we think about pandemic and those needs for students?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I'll let you talk to Vicki. I
Oh,
think,
no, you go.
well, a lot of students, especially at different points throughout the semester, find themselves in this real hard juggling phase of, well, I have to work more so that I can afford X, Y, and Z. I also need to continue on with my academic goals. And as Vicki really truthfully shared, taking care of yourself is usually the last thing. And especially for students who are, managing family responsibilities, whether it's their, own children or whether it's their parents or siblings that they're trying to help support, um, you know, finding that extra hour to reach out and have an appointment on the computer or on the phone or in person even, is often the last thing that someone is thinking about doing and the first thing to get nixed when times get tough. So having the app, in my mind, I think about how would I juggle? And if it's, 11:30 at night on a Saturday and that's the only time I have, or 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, then this is where you can point to WellTrack and using that on your own time in your own space and finding privacy for even a 15-minute chunk of tending to yourself can be so important. And talking with other colleagues at other counseling centers on campuses, we all know that everybody's hurting right now and no one is exempt from that. But what's concerning is how little or how relatively little students are reaching out. And I think sometimes it's just too overwhelming. Where do I start? Or I've never had counseling before. Or I think sometimes those self-doubt things get planted of like, oh, it's not that bad. I can handle this. Maybe, maybe not. But within WellTrack, there's also a wellness assessment. And for some folks to be able to check in and really see, if you're walking around with a pebble in your shoe for like 3 days, you might get used to it. It might be bothersome. You don't like it, but you're not, running off to the doctor. But when you actually sit down and take that pebble out of your shoe, the sense of relief and the feeling of, oh, I feel so much better. And it's the same kind of thing with counseling. This is a slow build for most people where they feel like they're not themselves. Things might not be happening or going as well as they could, but people get used to it. And so hopefully this will crack that door open for folks to see that this is something we can help with.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much for joining us today again for another episode of Hawk Talk. We really appreciate it every time you come in and share all the good things that Counseling Services is doing.
And I know, hit the website, all you need to do on the external web is just type in WellTrack, all one word. There's a great video and some other resources there, but appreciate you, Melanie and Beth, for giving us time to hang out with you. Cindy and I always enjoy it.
Thank you.